Yeah, I see. Yeah,
Okay, you're good too.
all right, thank you. I'd like to call tonight's planning board meeting to order for Monday, March 21st, 2022. If we could first stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First thing is we all have a draft of the meeting minutes from last month. And I know there was a couple minor revisions that were pointed out and you got those.
I do. Thank you.
Okay. Other than that, any comments? Otherwise, is there a motion to accept them as presented?
I'll make the motion to accept them as presented. I'll second.
So motion by Kevin, second by John, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I guess a couple things. First of all, this past month, we had the county hosted their planning symposium. And I know 4 of us were in attendance. I thought it was a good day. They talked a lot about the overall county, Onondaga County planning for their master plan that they're redoing, comprehensive plan. And other things going on. It felt good to be able to network with other people. And I understand, John, you did some stormwater training online also. So Dan and Roy, reminder for training this year,
I just sent in a whole bunch of hours.
for this year.
Mhm.
Okay, all right,
Because you can carry them over from last year.
okay. All right.
And I
we'll
think
do-
I'm good, but
Okay,
I may owe
We'll
one,
check.
but
okay, and we'll double check with Roy.
I
So-
conflicted with my wife's 60th, so I got myself in trouble. But I called
You're
the-
forgetting.
And you also
I
just
called
got in
the
trouble
clerk.
for saying it.
for disposition.
Yeah,
You're supposed to say 39.
Yeah, she's not.
Especially as we're
Oh, wait.
on the air.
You were, but-
And it's
whole-
recorded.
hide it out.
Recorded. So, anyway, with that, anyway, good,
Overthought,
good,
right?
we'll be in good steads. Secondly, just plan third Monday of the month, unless you hear that we're not meeting, there will always be planning board meeting at 6:30 on the third Monday.
Unless we hear otherwise.
Yes. Okay, so if we don't have a formal agenda, there could be training presented, or at least get the last month's meeting minutes, get them on the way, et cetera, et cetera. So we're leaving it like that. So with that, we do have an agenda tonight. Sally Hootnick is here and her attorney Diane is joining us via Zoom.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
And we've been talking about this on and off for a while. It certainly has presented some challenges, what with the layout and trying to accommodate road frontage and access, et cetera. Bring up to date, within the past 2 months, some of that land has been subdivided off and a neighbor on Waterville Road had purchased that and is now combined with that entity's lot. Sally and Diane are back tonight to discuss. They'd like to do, essentially it's a lot line adjustment, but I think it's been enough discussion, so everybody's on the same wavelength with it, so we don't just make sure everything's out in the open as much as we can on that. Talk about what they want to do. There are a couple large maps, which I guess if we could have.
Although Sue, a lot line adjustment really is something that code enforcement would handle.
Right, and right now we don't have a code enforcement officer, and this is one that we've been talking about for a while.
We do
Jamie
have a part-time one.
and I thought it would be prudent just for input from this board before we proceed with it
Okay.
tonight.
I know there were issues of what was going to occur on the property and access to it was an issue.
Right.
Right.
The lot line adjustment itself is not
Right, we will not be voting to say, yes, that's what we want.
Okay.
No, that's not in the cards, but we felt it was prudent for everybody's input into it, so nobody's caught by surprise, I guess. So,
Well, we wouldn't be caught by surprise because we wouldn't be party to it.
true.
No, except that when Sue and I talked, because there was so much about this lot in
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah.
And there's not a codes person, so basically Sue and I are making the lot line
Yeah, okay.
decisions.
And that's
And we
fine.
thought this was a really good one for the board to weigh in on because there had been so much discussion about it.
Now, when we say there's not a codes person, I thought we have a codes person that works for us on a part-time per hour basis,
Up to speed yet.
up to speed. This was someone that had worked as the code enforcement officer for quite a few years.
Lloyd Sutton, it's part-time.
Oh, it's Lloyd? No.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll
And-
talk to him about it next time.
so getting up to
So
speed.
this came up, so we made. we
Prior,
should make a decision.
between that,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay,
got it.
got it. All right. Well, that's good news.
So I guess there are two things that was emailed, the application emailed to you and the small map, if anybody wants to see one of the large maps. You know.
That's what one is that
You want to hand one of those up?
I'm on, oh, there's one around. Sure.
And by the way, I should know, Kevin, too, that the code says that the codes person can still bring something here to the planning board. They can bring it to the planning board, like it doesn't have to be administrative.
No, I understand. Yeah, I get that. And I understand that some of the other issues that came up earlier in our discussions had to do with what was going to occur on the property subsequent to the line adjustment, which really,
Normally doesn't.
but that would come before us after the lot line adjustment, those items, and also the code enforcement. Enough access and all that stuff, yeah. That was.
Well, if for residential, that would just stay in the codes office.
Right, but there were issues of living spaces and accesses and things that were brought up, and that still would be code enforcement, whether it. Right. The codes, okay, very good.
I guess Sally or Diane, you want to enter in at this point? Any
Absolutely.
comments?
Yeah, this is really step 2 of a 4-step process that Sally and I have been engaged in for the last 2 years. Sally has been seeking to utilize the property at issue here, some portion of it, for a home studio that she now has in her own home across the Brickyard Falls. And she wants it to be a standalone structure that can be a home and or studio for her while she, has guests in her main house. Just so you know, background, she's just not doing this willy-nilly. She wants to utilize her land in a way that makes sense for her family. After we sought commentary from you and threw around 3 to 5 options, listened to everything you had to say and put it into our, input basket, we determined that the only way, given the strange configuration of this property, that a subdivision could occur with the necessary frontage to satisfy your code was to build a road or begin to build a road. That brought about other challenges. Sally's a businesswoman and she's doing this on her own. So she decided to sell off the back portion of the property to a contiguous landowner who was interested in order to finance essentially the road build that's going to be necessary for the future subdivision. She has a lot that isn't currently connected to, but is contiguous to her residential lot across Brickyard Falls and this property. It has a separate tax lot number, and after a lot of debate about which lot it should be, uh, attached to, or the lot line adjustment should be made to, it was determined it was more beneficial to make the larger lot contiguous rather than the smaller lot across the creek. So step one was to sell the back lot to John Mitten. That is, your board and others have processed that application, and that is done. A new tax map number has been identified for that lot. John's closing on that lot with Sally shortly, and now we're moving on to the remaining acreage and what's going to happen going forward. Rather than confuse matters and give you two huge applications, or actually one tiny application and then a bigger application to deal with, we decided, for reasons of also the fact that our engineer is still working on the highway plan that your board requested, we decided to do this in two parts. One, to do the lot line adjustment, so we have the absolute full acreage available for potential subdivision, and then proceed next month with the full application for subdivision. It deals with the new road, and the potential buyer also presents an application for the subdivision of the property that Sally intends to sell. Unless you want to get in.
Can I ask it?
Sure.
Sorry, Diane.
No, go for it.
There's going to be an application for the new road and then an application for further subdivision. I misunderstood, or
I'm sorry. At an earlier, meeting, it was really after much debate and much input, the board really found, and it was really a straw vote, but everybody felt that there was no way possible other than the insertion of a roadway into Brickyard Falls Road, that there would be sufficient frontage for a subdivision because of the configuration of this lot.
What do you
I
mean
mean-
by a straw vote? What do you mean by a straw
you
vote?
what I mean to say is that at one of the meetings, you sort of just said, would a roadway potentially be the solution to this? And some of the board members said, yes, it might be a solution. Yes, it might be a solution. So rather than proceed with, during the sketch plan phase, rather than proceed with an application that was going to be rejected, we decided to move forward in the manner that the board in general felt was the only way to proceed. Not that anybody guaranteed it, but simply that was the only possible avenue through which we could proceed and comply with the zoning laws in the town of Pompey.
All right, so just to be clear, there was no vote.
No, just to
We
be
did
clear,
not
there
vote.
was
I just-
there was
For
no
the
vote.
record, right, for the record, I just
the
want to be
record.
clear.
No, there was no vote. And for the
Okay.
record, I mean, there were some people that weren't in favor, but I think that,
Again, there was
Because-
no vote. There was no vote, so we didn't ask if people were in favor or not in favor. There was not a vote. There was discussion. There was no vote where people were asked whether or not they were in favor. I just want to be clear on the record that no vote was taken.
are we clear?
I hope I am.
I think
you-
so.
I think you're very clear, and both the applicant and I understand that when we decided to move forward toward a potential subdivision of this property, that we weren't given the green light by the board. It's still certainly up in the air. We were given the red light by the board for every option other than a road. So if my applicant and I wish to proceed, that is the only way, in my judgment. If any of you have changed your minds or can think of another way to do this, I would love to hear from you. But after the second or third meeting we had, it became clear that a roadway into the property from Brickyard Falls would be the only way if it was approved to do it. Is that clear enough? Or am I misstating? There was no
That's-
vote.
No, that's clear.
That's clear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
intent,
just-
with the intention of doing a subdivision down the road though, right? Putting a subdivision in here?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we're clear.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so
Thank you, Dan.
my question to you is, do you want to hear about the future tonight? Or do you just want to do the lot line adjustment and get the applications from both Sally and the potential developer next time when you have a plethora of other information, including an engineering report on the potential roadway, et cetera? I mean, I don't want to waste anybody's time. I think the lot line adjustment is a given. It's not just because it's an administrative thing. You're making a larger lot out of two smaller lots and you're making it a small lot contiguous with a larger lot, whereby right now it's just a little 1.6 acre lot sort of hanging out by itself. Makes sense to combine it somewhere.
Well, for me, talking about the future, if there's no application about the future, really doesn't make any sense because that may change.
Sure.
So to talk about that tonight really doesn't do much for me. You know, tonight, talking about the lot line adjustment would make sense. And then if there's an application for whatever the development may be or what the road is, I think when the application comes before us, then we would talk about it. But to talk about possibilities in the future, I just don't see the need for that.
I do have
Personally.
one question I agree with you, honestly, but I do have one question, an administrative question for you guys. And that is, since we've been before you 2 to 3 times on the sketch plan type work, I'm wondering if this next application is going to be for preliminary subdivision approval and if I should present it as such. Just because the debate sort of about what options are available has occurred already. And then the preliminary subdivision application can be voted on whenever you're ready.
When we receive the application.
Yeah, I'm not sure that there was a lot of discussion. I'm not sure that we know exactly what the, like, kind of the upshot of it all was. I understand we talked about the road and I think everyone here is like, yeah, understand it's a road. But now you have some property off the back. Now you have the combined lot. I don't think we have a real concept of what you're planning at this point. Am I right?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Exactly.
Is this
Other than
Jamie,
the
is
There's
that
no
you?
official sketch plan that would precede a preliminary plan at this point.
that was all discussion. It all came back to road frontage.
Seems as though you should get a sketch plan first and.
Absolutely. Have
The
something.
application should
So
be.
are you saying that we haven't even made it through the sketch plan phase and that's what you want now? And that's fine. If that's the answer, I'll happily provide you with the sketch plan and then we'll start from there.
I think that's the best way to go. And again, as I said, the piece that we're looking at, what we looked at last has already changed by taking off the one side that you sold to the neighbor. Honestly, yes, it shouldn't be much for combining the 1.6 acres in, but it still leaves enough of an oddity. I won't say oddity. It is an odd shaped parcel, but what potentially might be the subdivisions or how many or how far the road goes in. There's a multitude of questions there that I think needs to be answered.
Right, I agree with you. My next question for administrative purposes would be, do you want the potential buyer / developer to be before the board the same time as Sally comes before the board to just take off her piece and divide it in two? Or do you want them separately? What's your preference? In other words, Sally's sale.
That's not really for us
Sally's
to
gonna
decide.
Yeah, Sally's gonna divide her property once this lot line adjustment occurs in two. And a developer is going to buy the majority of the land. If they can get approval from you guys for subdivision, which,
I think we need to hear from everybody.
Yeah.
Because remember, because it's a planning board, so
yes,
the idea of just sort of, lopping off a piece and then wondering what's gonna happen
right,
is not the best approach for a planning
Right.
board.
That's what I think we were thinking, if we came together with the buyer and said, I'm gonna keep this and she wants to do this, with drawings of what she wants to do.
It will give us some information, but we
Right.
really can't rule on anything without an application with specifics on the application. So
But
we
it's-
don't end up having another straw poll.
It's good for the sketch plan.
It's good for the sketch plan, right? But we need something to have in front of us that says, this is what we want to do, this is where things will be. The last time I remember, as it's coming back, is we talked about you were gonna have a studio. Nobody was gonna live there except sometimes. And we might have a bathroom, we might have a bed. So,
Well, I can answer any questions.
but you don't need to answer those, just at the time, it wasn't anything we could like look at, put in a box and say, yes, this meets the code, this is something we agree on as a planning board. It was really sort of, it might be, it might not be, and we really need to have a better picture of what is going to occur. At least that's my perspective,
So I
and
wasn't sure if we needed to do the land subdivision first and then you would see.
well,
What my plan was.
for me, tonight you said we're gonna have a living structure there. The last time it was maybe a living structure.
I could clarify that. I mean, it's to me not a living structure. It's my working structure, just my art business.
Right.
I think that my thought is in building it, yes, I do want to have a bathroom. No, I'm not planning any bedrooms, just because I'll be there all day. You need certain things. But I guess my thought is someday, I'm not getting any younger, that possibly I would be able to sell it and it could be usable. Somebody could convert it into a home is my thought.
But if you're, the whole question is, I know you have to have a toilet, but if you're gonna have a septic tank and leach fields and all of those things that require, inspections and so on and so forth, that's why
Yeah,
makes it complicated.
yeah.
So here's my question. We have an application in front of us from them for a lot line adjustment.
Understood.
So we're proceeding with that and then they come back with their sketch phase for the next, or are we saying take this back and come back and do it all together? There's my question.
Yeah, just do the lot line adjustment, get that over with,
Right,
let them do
You
their
have to do that
transaction.
in order to have a sketch plan that has the right
right.
acreage and configuration.
So at that point, it's, okay, we've got our comments on lot line adjustment. We can do that and sign off.
Yep.
And then come back with a sketch phase, sketch plan on the next step that you want to do.
Yeah,
That
and
makes
to me,
perfect
the best advice is just be as comprehensive as you can be with it
Yes.
for your own benefit.
Mhm.
So the sketch plan would include the road and the subdivision of the major land as well as a new subdivision of that lot for
Of
you.
what you just
So it
said.
should be all
Well, it would
incorporated into
show-
one sketch plan.
It would show the, okay, we're erasing one line, so it's a 24 acre, 24, 25 acres, whatever.
Right,
Okay,
okay.
the next sketch phase would show the roadway in, it would show the parcel that you want to keep, so
Okay.
the new, and then whatever is going to be subdivided, whether it's one parcel, two parcels, three, or however many, whatever your plan is, everything then would be shown on that plan.
Okay, so for me, just to be clear, I just want to keep, roughly 4.5 acres for my building that's coming down the road. The buyer wants to put in several houses, so her plan will be a lot more detailed than mine. Because,
Right, but the problem is, you're telling us the buyer won't make a decision on whether to buy it until they know that their subdivision is gonna be approved. So
yes,
until we see something from them,
yeah,
we can't.
and I think she's preparing that now, right, Diane? I mean, I think she's been
Absolutely.
working on
As
this
I
for a
was
while.
saying, yeah, this has been going on for almost a year from the perspective of contract and, obviously this developer is interested in living, well, not obviously, she's going to be living on the property in one of the lots, and she's going to be developing some additional lots. I don't want to speak for her, and I frankly don't want to do her work for her. It's her thing. But I will tell you that, and it's, I guess, a sensible ask from a buyer's perspective, that she wants to know before she plunks down money for this naked land, that she has the option of doing something with it. Now, if the board should decide it doesn't want to subdivide the land further, then Sally will have, a partially built road, her studio, and another 20-acre parcel of land to deal with in the future. And you might find that at some point in the future, something can be done with it, or maybe some individual wants to buy the 20 acres and build one house on it. I can't predict the future any more than you can, but I am prepared, as is the potential developer, to bring you all the necessary information and plans so that you can make an informed decision and plan for this land going forward. That's really all I can do.
But we don't make a decision and tell that developer, yes, they can develop, or no, they can't develop. They can look at what the code is, but our decision would be after an application was before us, we would make decisions on whether or not it meets the code, if it's just the setbacks are correct and
Sure.
the distances are correct and the road frontage is correct.
Sure.
But we can't tell the developer, yep, you can do what you want to do, just go ahead and do it.
No,
We
I
need to
know
see
that.
that plan. Yeah.
Yep,
So,
and I wanted to know whether it would be helpful or harmful for you to see it all at once, meaning the developer come in with
Yes.
her application and plan while Sally
Yep.
comes in with her portion, and I think the answer is yes.
yes,
Yes.
absolutely,
I'm
yes.
not even sure the answer is that whether this board would allow Sally to do something on her own until we see the plan
Until we see,
for the whole lot.
right.
Well, we
Well, unless she
would,
built her
but she'd
road.
be at risk.
Yeah,
that
she
the
could
rest
put
of it
herself
is
in a
not
corner.
approved.
Right.
Well,
Well, we would
No,
want to make
if
sure
she-
there's no, like, that there's potential.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not going to work.
A
If you try
hammerhead
this,
with
it
the
won't work.
ability to
Right.
build continue on with the road. So
The FYI, the same surveyor, DW Hannig, that has prepared a sketch plan for the subdivision of the 5 acres from the 20 acres and a hammerhead road is done. All those maps are done. I'm waiting on the engineer for the road. Placement of the road was already approved by the highway superintendent, but I know he's now no longer there. So it's been kind of a rocky road for all of us with
Now,
people that
where
are.
the,
Just the access.
the highway
access,
superintendent,
yeah, he just looked as far as access.
Yeah, just
And
the,
I've-
just the access, not the road itself, just access.
No, it's because it's only 250 feet of frontage. He wanted to determine whether there was an appropriate location for a road on this 250 feet that would
Site
aid
distances and
A,
absolutely,
Yeah.
serve the
absolutely.
neighbors, and B, have appropriate sightline views, et cetera. in
Right.
both directions.
Right,
So
for
Which
the
you
entrance, not the whole
did.
road, just the entrance, right?
just the entrance itself. So
Right, correct.
in order to even contemplate, going back in time, putting a road in, we had to determine whether there was appropriate frontage of 60 feet somewhere on the 250 for a proper road to be put.
So the
So
highway
step-
superintendent approved it and sent you a document to that effect?
No, he
Okay.
told us, he came and visited, and he located the road on this sketch plan map in the only location he thought it was appropriate. And that's in the notes of the sketch plan map.
You have that information?
We'll just get confirmation from the highway.
Yeah, we use that, get confirmation if they have it in writing or
I
whatever.
do,
Yeah,
I do remember him going out
Yeah,
and
yeah,
saying
yeah,
there was
yeah.
one spot.
just have to confirm that.
So I have a
So-
question on this lot two. The parcel, the piece of land that's being sold to the neighbor, that transaction has already occurred?
Yeah, we did that last time. And it's been filed.
We did the subdivision?
It was a lot line
Lot
adjustment.
line adjustment.
Mitten owns lot that's on Waterville Road.
He just extended
He
this
just
line to
extended
here.
the lane.
But how could that transaction take place without a subdivision?
It's administrative process.
It's a lot line
It's a lot line
adjustment.
adjustment.
Just a lot
No
line
new
adjustment.
Lots were created.
But the piece of land belonged to Sally first and was sold to Mitten, though, right?
Actually,
Can
the
be
closing
done.
couldn't
It hasn't,
occur.
we haven't closed yet, but
So how can you,
Closing
it's
couldn't
what?
occur until a tax map number was issued and an abstract was prepared separately from Sally's abstract for this 5 acres that was sold.
I don't think you need
But how
a
can it
tax map
trans-
number. It would be John's tax map number, just, there's a lot,
Just,
description
Acre.
changes,
Yeah,
but
just
the
becomes
number
bigger,
doesn't
right.
change.
Number
Yeah.
stays.
But how can the transaction take place without a subdivision?
It's a lot, nothing got, it's not
But it's
subdivided.
two different owners.
That's right,
it happens.
all the time, every time.
Right, and it's gonna become one owner, and that's
Mhm.
why a lot line adjustment can be made, because it's one owner. But that's been done. It's just waiting for it filed and whatnot.
Yeah, I realize that. I just didn't realize that could occur. That somebody could just turn over, sell a piece of their land without subdividing it.
Well, it's the person that bought it is incorporating it into their property. She's not selling it to two different people, so one entity ends up owning the whole parcel.
Yeah, I realize that.
Right.
But it's being bought from another entity.
Yeah,
It does happen all the time though.
yeah.
Okay. Just never run into that.
But it's not necessarily being subdivided, it's,
It was a
Two
similar
existing tax
application to the
maps.
one that's currently before
so
you.
there's not a new tax map being created.
Right.
That's kind of the general rule. If there's a new tax map number, a new parcel is created, then it's a subdivision.
Right, if she sold it to someone different than
Right.
him, then it would
You
require,
have to make all this criteria and
Yes.
All right,
then it would have to have the subdivision.
okay.
So are you able to vote or do whatever administrative function is necessary to incorporate the 1.6 acre parcel into the now 20 acre, 24 acre parcel
We
tonight?
don't, as a board, we don't need to vote on it because it
Okay.
is a lot line adjustment. We can do that administratively. Jamie. We have if the codes enforcement officer was here, he's or she would be able to do that. Third
So-
man up would be myself, but
But we're gonna tell them that that's gonna be able to be done.
yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
will do that. That will get done.
that can
Well,
be-
and
Well,
this
you got
map,
you got the Mylars or?
what do we have here? Do we have Mylars?
Paper copy.
Okay,
just the
so I was told by
just these
Nikki Reed,
papers?
I was told by Nikki that I asked DW Hannick to provide 4 Mylars to this meeting. And then Nikki called me and said, no, I needed 2 plain maps and the Mylars would only be necessary if it was approved. So I was a little between a rock and a hard place. So what I've given you is the two paper maps, and if the Mylars are needed, they can be there whenever there's people there that may sign them.
It doesn't require us to meet again.
Correct,
Correct.
yes.
It doesn't require us to meet again.
So basically, as soon as we get the Mylars, we can sign it.
Thank you. You need 4 questions.
So I'm gonna note in the minutes that all of this was discussed and there was no objection by this board to the lot line adjustment.
No objections.
Okay, And,
Bring the
No, I like.
bring the Mylars and.
Do you want?
Jamie, do you need 4? Do you need four?
I'm not familiar right offhand of how many what our instructions are. I just don't know off the top of my head, so
All
I
right.
have to look at it.
Somebody will tell me and they will appear so that they can be signed and we can get this part of it. So that instead of 2 separate lot numbers, there'll be 1 lot number for the contiguous 1.6 acre lot and the 21 acre lot. And that is the lot that will be submitted for subdivision next month.
Yes,
Got it. You know which lot number it is, or the larger one or the smaller one, or doesn't it matter?
What's the question? What?
she
lot?
wants to know what the lot, the new, or
The new
which parcel
number-
number is going to take precedence. That's up to the county, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, right now, for the time being, there's still 2 tax map numbers until the county goes in and makes the change. So
They'll
you
give me
just
the
put them both on. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I needed for anything else? Sally, do you have anything more to say?
I think the next meeting will be a robust discussion. That's what we'll get down to.
I think so as well. And we'll see how it all goes. We'll give you as much information as we can, including highway plans that you are looking for. And I will make sure that the potential buyer / developer is very detailed in her sketch plan as well.
Do you have any comments on that, John?
Well,
Or
once
town
I see
engineer.
it, so I assume the road design will include a profile and cross-section of the road contours on, and do you have elevations on all of the properties? So we can see?
Yes,
Green
we
flag.
hired Steve Calcerino, who's been
Oh,
working
Steve, okay.
closely
Yeah.
with DW Hennig, and he is fully familiar with the necessaries on that.
Yeah, I know Steve, so that's good. He'll know what to do. Because it's important that the board be able to understand not just the road in 2 dimensions, but in 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
Understand all the impacts.
And Diane, probably day late, dollar short, but this is John Dunkel. He is now our town engineer.
Hi, John.
There, hi.
Hi,
Let me-
John. So very nice to meet you. It's great. Yeah, we look forward to working with all of you and hopefully we can figure out the best way to plan for this parcel and meet everybody's needs, especially the towns and Sally's. So hopefully this will work out. You know, I understand. It may or may not. We'll see how it goes.
How soon do the plans come in? So I have a chance to look at them before the meeting?
When do you think you might have? Pardon me?
They're due 2 weeks before the meeting. The meeting's the 3rd. So it's really the first, Monday in April that the plans will be due. 2 weeks before the meeting. And, you know, I'm pushing Steve. He's got a lot of work going on. And honestly, the developer is doing her best given DW Hannig's limitations. So I'm hoping that everything will be in for the April meeting. If that breaks down for some reason, it'll be the May meeting, but you know, it is what it is. I'm working with others, so.
Okay,
It works.
yep. All right, thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
very, very
Stanley.
much. I'll
Yes,
see
Emily.
everybody next time you have an application before you. Thank you for the lot line adjustment.
Yep, thank you. You have anything else, Jamie or John? John doesn't.
So is there anything, as I look at these plans, there's anything you're concerned about with the property itself and how it's developed from an engineering perspective? You know yet enough about it to,
We've really only looked at flat plans.
Okay.
Just so you know, so far.
And
Yeah.
there's,
I just have a quick question. When we come before you next, because I'm not sure of all the terms, the sketch plan and all that. So I understand the woman who wants to buy the 20 acres is working on a pretty detailed plan. Will I have to have where I want my studio sited and everything as well? Or can I just put in the road and leave it for a while? Because I don't know if I'll be starting it right away. I mean, how specific does my part of it have to be?
At some point, when you were gonna build, you'd have to go to the code enforcement officer and
Get a permit.
it would have to get approved for setbacks and
Right,
so on,
but
right?
not for this next phase of just the subdivision, correct?
No, as long as the lot is big enough,
To build on, right?
Yeah,
and it's buildable.
right,
Right.
It has to be buildable.
right. And be big enough to have flexibility so that, you know, if you, because of what we're running into with this road even of
yeah,
putting the driveway in, and of course, presumably the driveway will be off this road, so you
right.
should be all set on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason I wanted just to keep a good sized piece of land to have that flexibility in the future.
Yeah, it almost started as like an accessory building.
You know, I guess originally I wondered if I could do that, just combine, you know, my lot on Clearwater with that lot and like have it all be one big lot and then just have it as my studio building. But I think I can't remember now.
kept coming back to access.
Yeah. you
Because you
couldn't
can't
access it.
exactly walk
access it
from your
because of the
backyard
water.
across the creek and the falls and then up and then,
Not
you know.
easily.
Yeah.
Does this
Kept coming back to access.
Yeah.
Does the
Got it.
code allow an accessory building on a freestanding lot without a principal structure?
Oh, correct, but it's the water between them that made it not accessible, and we battled with that, so it can't be an accessory structure. And then, of course, it got into
Primary
the
structure.
toilet and
That's why it has to be a living.
it's got to be a standalone.
So it'd be a home occupation use. probably.
Correct, correct.
Even though it's not, right?
Well, it is the time you're in there, it would be.
Okay.
So that's
So when
the,
I'm in there working, that's.
see, the other thing that we have to do as a board is, you know, we all have to pay taxes and die. What happens after you've left, for whatever reason, to that building? Can somebody else say, oh, it was used for somebody to live in, so I'm gonna live in there, even though it doesn't meet the requirements? So we have to also look at, when you build that primary structure, if it is a living structure, it has to meet the codes for that structure, even if you're just using it as a studio,
Okay,
you know, because of the future. That's why
okay,
they call us the planning board.
yeah, you're right. I didn't understand how that worked.
You may ultimately want to link it to your property on Clearwater anyways, but
Really?
you may. I'm not, you know, if I were you, I would let the developer do as much as you can get them to do, including subdividing your lot. So if I were you, I mean, I.
Clarify that. Because I'm in the middle of the negotiation.
Errors and
Talk to
omission
him.
paid up.
Talk to him after.
Off the record.
Yeah.
All right, okay, yeah. Got it, okay, all right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sal.
I appreciate it.
Well, they
But we're
negotiate, don't they?
broadcast. Yes, correct.
Make it a lot easier on us.
Be careful with the developers there.
Yeah.
Okay, I will,
If they're gonna build a road.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Subdivide it out.
Anything
Yeah,
else?
I don't
Other
understand. why-
topics?
And I don't want two applicants, I guess, as a
I
board.
make a motion.
Kevin has made a motion to adjourn. Do we
Is there a
have
second?
Second. Kevin here?
I second it.
All right.
All right, Carl, that's somebody, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Who made the second?
It was down in the sun. Anyway.
They got the idea